accidents. And as passengers, I really want to say we have the mandate of telling these drivers what exactly to do, but sometimes also it is us who are causing these accidents, because when the driver is speeding at a low speed, we are complaining. We are saying the driver is moving very slowly because we want to reach faster to the places where we are going. But I'm saying it is not good. At the end of the day, if at all you continue to also really, make the drivers on pressure once they overspeed, then in case of any accident, it will still be you to lose yourself, to lose your relatives, and at the end of the day to lose property as well, because accidents are usually very, very much bad. And I was able to see the wreckage of the bus. Really, it was quite scary. But we are saying people must, these are some tendencies of we are saying actually avoid that. Now the accident also involved, that's the speeding Jaguar bus with registration number that is UBP 964T, also already at around 1 a.m. today, that was yesterday, as the bus was heading to Rwanda. Now the bus collided also with the tipper canter, that's registration number, that's UAV 988N, which also already moving from Masaka to Kampala, at the notorious also already speeding junction, that is of Bugonzi, Kawale corner in there. But how do we make sure that we avoid issues of overspeeding? Now, according to eyewitnesses, as a result of this, following the accident, actually confirmed the driver of the Jaguar bus lost control while navigating also the sharp corner, resulting in the fatal accident and the subsequent also really overturning of the bus in there. But as a driver of such a huge bus, I do understand that by now you should have also really understood this road very well, and that means you shouldn't also really be first of all involved in such accidents, because you will know what exactly to do when it comes to reducing speed where necessary. But sometimes also really as drivers we are tired. I believe sometimes all these drivers are tired because you find out that somebody travels from Rwanda to Kampala in the morning and the person feels like going back in the afternoon, and these are questions also really of accidents, and they really want to say let police come out and make sure thorough investigations into this matter are carried out. And that is also where we're saying the impact also was so severe, as the bus also was involved in an accident where the bus rolled over multiple times before also coming to a stop. That is trapping passengers also inside in there. Now that's something also we did see leading to the death of the passengers in there. Now the deceased have been identified as Teopista Amali, a 39-year-old. We do have also Edwin Atushobra, a 35-year-old. We have Moses Awanyi Okelo, a 46-year-old, Mark Monyanda Musa, 53-year-old, and Everin Natukunda, a 31-year-old, who we are also said to be dead in this accident. Others are Liza Kaliza, a 28-year-old, Stephen Kinamula, a 51-year-old, and also an individual who was yet to be identified as a charm, because we are still following up on who died in this accident. But I really want to confirm to you at least 8 people were confirmed dead in this accident, as others are still now battling for their lives. Now the survivors of the accident recounted the terrifying moments solely following the collision, as Tony Akazimana, one of the survivors, described the chaos after the bus also collided with the tipper. I said I fell in the middle of the road and overturned, where the tires solely were up, and I was able to also head into Burundi, and I managed to rescue also a child, but sadly her mother died, and that's something also where we didn't see that happening. But how do we make sure that such issues also do not happen to our people also on the roads? And now another survivor was traveling with her two twin children. Recall that I was also with my sister and child. We survived, but my sister did not. Also, that's the reason why she was sitting next to me. Also, and the person who was also sitting next to me died about accidents. And yet, really, our driver still continued over speeding, and that's where we're going to be leaving that aside and now still get back to Chitezi, where this story is still moving on and still a developing story. And I really want to say the affected also families in Chitezi are displaced. Is it safe for them to go back now? And these are the questions we need to understand now. Now communities are affected also by the August 10th, and also finding it difficult as also resentment plans from government also remain unknown. And now as also resentment plans from government also remain unknown. And now the Chitezi landfill tragedy is still missing. And now the community also affected also wrote a letter to the office of the Prime Minister and copied also the other government agencies on August 21st, are seeking information and also the guidance on the settlement also from areas around the landfill also in there. Now copies of the letter we have seen also and written also by the Buhude show that also that the letter was delivered also and received by Office of the Prime Minister and Kampala Capital City Authority, and as well as Inspector of Government and Ministry of Constitutional Affairs. If we are to vacate this point, then we needed to find alternatives, because if we look at the issue of garbage, today you know that many people actually suffering from issues of garbage, but we do not know what exactly will be able to sort of come out of this garbage soil that is being poorly dumped. Because if we dump the garbage poorly, and as government land now officially, and I really want to say, if at all that happens, so it will actually be quite well. And now that we can find alternatives on the sort of dealing with this matter, and that would also really make sure these issues also pertaining also the states, many things also continue to happen, and at the end of the day, we are saying we have the mandate of making sure that also the people from Lango, where the Lango Paramount Chief installation is set to take place, that is in November 2nd this year, and that is where we are going to be seeing that happening, and that will be on the 2nd of November this year. But now we are seeing preparations are underway, where hundreds on Saturday, also 31st of August 2024, gathered that's at Ndere troop, that's in Tinda, Nakawa division, so at the Paramount Chief, also the Lango fundraising dinner, where Nabanja pledged that is shillings 10 million for the coronation. Multimedia also company also came out to also support that, where we did see many people coming out, and many of them actually supported that. And His Royal Highness Dr. Engineer Dr. Michael Moses Odongo Kune, the Lango Paramount Chief, also is set to be coronated. That's on 2nd of this year, November this year. That will be taking place in Lira City, also India. Now, Kun Inen Lango Kedek Tekwaro Cultural Group, lead also the Paramount Chief, also Dr. Engineer Michael Odongo Kune, as he arrived also for the fundraising dinner. That's also for the coronation that was on also that will be taking also for November 2nd of this year in there. That will be taking place in Lira. And remember, now efforts are underway to raise money to also realize that, because if at all you look at that, then definitely this money must come from us, not from elsewhere, because really to have a cultural leader, it's quite well, and that's where we're saying, if for those who have the cultural leaders, this goes to the Langos now out there, if you're Langi out there, and then you need to come out and support your leader to also make sure the function goes as planned. In the now government, Chief Whip Hamson Obua represent Prime Minister Nabanja as also the Paramount Chief Paramount Chief fundraising dinner, but we also really able to see Youth and Children Affairs Minister under 1 million. Same. Then at the end of the day, it will be quite difficult. But we're saying, all in all, you need to come out and support your own cause, and that goes to the people also of Lango now to come out and also do that. Now, Queen Akira from Lango entertaining guests who also turned up for the fundraising dinner. That's for the coronation of the Paramount Chief, that is Dr. Kune, and we are looking forward to also seeing the year, and also towards the year, end of the year, to also see the activity move on as planned. And hundreds on Saturday, also 31st, that's gathered at Ndere Center, that is Nakawa also division, to also raise money for that cause, and that's where we're going to be seeing that follow and also see that. And we are really talking about these issues to also make sure that at least when these activities end, they should be able to end very well in there, because if at all we're not raising money towards that cause, then it will be quite difficult. Government urges new Lango Paramount Chief, and now the government has also come out to also urge the new Lango Paramount Chief to drive regional development, where we did see the government has also called upon the newly elected Paramount Chief of Lango, Dr. Michael Okune, to also prioritize development of the Lango sub-region, and that is where we did see Mr. Hamson Obua, the government Chief Whip, who also expressed confidence that the incoming Lango cultural leader will collaborate also effectively with Kampala administration to ensure that Lango's development agenda remains central to planning and also the policy making. And that's why we're saying, if at all we need to also have development, such leaders here, and that is where we're going to be seeing the event also that's also the coronation of the Wanyachi elect, that's the Paramount Chief of Lango, where we shall be seeing Dr. Engineer Michael Moses Okuno Dongo being officially installed as the new Lango Paramount Chief. Now the coronation is anticipated to take place, and also to a tune of, that is shillings 2.8 billion Ugandan shillings, which money, I must say, should be able to come from the people of Lango sub-region, fellow Luos in there. That's why we're going to be saying we must join hands to make sure that what happens also in there is a blessing, because if at all we also have our own here, it is quite good, because we need to also make sure that the cooperation amongst the cultural institutions actually takes place, because if at all we're not doing that, then definitely we may see people still lagging behind, and that will also not be quite well. But we are saying, all in all, we are looking forward to also making sure this activity goes on well, and that is how at the end of the day we shall be able to solely see the Lango cultural institutions. So we have people who do not believe in politicians. For them, they do not believe in politicians, they believe in their kings. They are there, and that will be quite well. And he assured that the incoming also chief of PLU support and emphasized that the President Museveni's also support towards the people of Lango is not political, but also aimed at benefiting the Lango people. And that means the support is not entirely for politics, but rather to also make sure that also the people of Lango are supported. Mr. Dong also reaffirmed his commitment in restoring and also re-enhancing the prestige of the Lango Cultural Institution and leadership, as he also promised to uphold cultural practices, ensure participatory governance and strengthen relationships. So that's with also both local also from Lango sub-region to actually be part of that, where I expect now the top leaders also from this country's governance also must come out to also support this activity, and that would also at the end of the day make that the message, and also they are producing results. And that's one thing also where we did start happening. The mothers union today play a great role, but many people hardly understand what the mothers union is all about. And now with this President Museveni coming out to praise this mothers union also over poverty fight. And today we are seeing actually them being very, very much instrumental when it comes to issues also of fighting poverty. Mr. Museveni emphasized the importance of hard work and self-sufficiency, saying that continue and champion the issues of socio-economic transformation. Because if you look at the leaders and other traditional leaders, if at all we're not involving them in this government program, pray 5 times a day with the masses, and go to a Sunday, get the clergy on board, where we get these people who are wholly on board, then that would be quite well. And that means we must join hands and also make sure that also the issues affecting the region are to address. Us for the mothers, also to fulfill their programs in there. And that's something also we did see him also making the promises. But First Lady Janet Museveni also emphasized the importance of mothers also taking the responsibility of their families, saying the home is working alone is not right. As a mother, you need to also work hand in hand or shoulder by shoulder with your husbands. Well, that's also according to information also that came in from the First Lady, where she also announced plans and to make also UP and USC schools day schools, urging the president of the Buganda Mothers Union said the annual conference brings together members from the 7 dioceses to brainstorm on challenges and empower women to live purposeful lives with integrity. And that means if at all the purpose is not also known, then the Mothers Union would actually not also be able to sort of realize why it is formed. And today, Mothers Union is actually a group of mothers who actually form their union or form their groups to also advocate for several issues where they advise themselves. And today, you realize the Mothers Union is actually offering counseling and guidance amongst themselves. And that means a person who is also a member of Mothers Union may not also easily divorce.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, our apologies for that. We are back also to continue with the show, and that is where we're saying we are still moving on. We're already 6 minutes after 8 o'clock, and of course, 9 o'clock remains our final destination where we are going to be discussing a lot of pertinent issues with you here and there, where we was able to solely inform you what is happening in Arua City. And we are moving on. And remember, so many of these also really continue to happen, but we are saying we are going to be living informed with also what continues to happen. Former, that's of Uganda Legislative Council, the legislature during that's the colonial era from 1960 to 1961 also has turned to turmeric farming to meet her daily needs after failing to receive a pension, also the benefits also after years of also pursuing that also in there. Now, despite her years of service in the Legislative Council, as a tutor and also as a tutor that's at St. Mary's College, Bukaida for 30 years, Akelo has been unable to also access her retirement package, forcing her to seek that alternative means that is also to support her family also in the now rather than succumb to despair. Akelo also chose to stay active and productive, and that's where we're saying much as things are happening in your life, you shouldn't resort to despair, because if you resort to despair still that wouldn't change anything. That's where we're saying just like Akelo, engage in anything so long as that anything brings food on your table. Nobody cares, but sometimes people also after living that kind of VIP life, they feel there's nothing more they can do. All their mind is on their pension, on other monies and other benefits. But once they fail to get these monies, we see them dying of stress. That means if at all you want to live stronger, do anything. And that's why we're saying we are very, very much proud of this let's remember Akelo Francis. That means we need to do something also when it comes to issues of supporting our lives. Now also that's something we did see where the decision has also provided her with also steady income and has kept her enraged, and that means she's now healthy and helping also to avoid social isolation and health challenges often being associated with old age. But now she has kept herself active. What do we learn from that? For those who have just retired and those who are planning to retire, because you may be watching me right now, but you are left with about months or years to retire, because government job is not going to be a permanent job. At the end of the day, you will be able to you will be required to leave. Just like also government job, we have other jobs also that still where it is not permanent, because I may be here today, but tomorrow I may not be here anymore. That means I need to also prepare for myself when it comes time for retirement, where I need to now start also looking at where I will be engaging in farming, where I need to. These are things that we need to think about, because if at all we don't think about them, then definitely, if at all we also lose the opportunities, and then we resort to despair. We find it quite difficult. That means we need to make sure that also we do the right things at the right time. That means just like Akelo, all those government workers in those positions must also learn a lesson from that. And that would also be a very good for them, a good lesson for them. That would also, at the end of the day, make them live longer. And now she has since learned to process the turmeric into powder, which she also sells locally. In addition to turmeric, Akelo also grows vegetables such as tomatoes, sukuma and also eggplants, earning her at least 10,000 daily from her sales. Look at 10,000 also daily. At that age, you do not have any other expenses also apart from just keep maintaining your health and also buying drugs. Because at that age, you do not do certain things here, but you will be able to require to buy medicine, and you have grandchildren. And that means you need to also make sure you have something at least that brings money. Because if you look at 7,000 per week, at the end of the month, how much money do you think she's earning? She's still earning something bigger. That means you need to also make sure that at least when you're living something, you have something to do, because your hands shouldn't only be focused on one thing. Because if you are to do this, your mindset should not be onto that. There are good times where you need to also make sure you resort to changes also in there. And now, despite the financial struggles, she has remained focused, and that's where with this Dr. Angiro John, a physician that is at Eastern Division Health Center, 3 years in Soroti City, emphasizes that the importance of staying active in all the ages is actually good. That means for those who are already growing old, you need to find something that you'll be able to do to keep you active. It could be farming. It could be playing with children. But all in all, you need something to also keep you active, and something that could also bring you something small to earn, also to take care of yourself. Other than that, you may be able to die of stress, but we are saying dying of stress is never right. You should always avoid making sure that you are involved in stress. And that's why we did see Akelo's also story is a testament that to resilience and also the importance of staying active and engaged even if the face of adversity is hitting you. That means that's why we are now saying through her farming and community involvement, she only not sustains herself but also inspires others. to live a fulfilling life in old age. That means you who is watching me right now, learn something from Akelo, do practice, because if I told you learn from farming, maybe from why you think that farming can be done, then do not also just leave it in dreams. Go out and start practicing. Plant the sukuma wiki she's doing, plant the tomatoes she's doing. Make sure that at least it brings something also for your life. Because if you look at her, at least she's earning 10,000 daily. How much money is that at the end of the month? Calculate. You realize that at the end of the day, she's earning more than 300. That's not only something small, that's something also not small, because at the end of the day, that's why we're saying your livelihood also will be able to improve. That means if you need something also to keep you busy, and with also the bonuses, I believe the money would actually be more than that. Because if you look at tomatoes, their demand is high. That means you need to also make sure at least there's something also that earns money for you, and that would also be very, very much good for you. And leave that story aside. Now let's get in Kampala, where the Dairy Cultural Center faces auction over debt. Is another story we are seeing right now in the papers, where the Stephen Rwabagezi, a prominent Uganda cultural icon, is at risk of losing the Dairy Cultural Center, a key institution that's for the cultural preservation and education due to unpaid loan. And that's also where we're now seeing the facility located in Kisasi. A campus also, the center was inaugurated in 2003 by President Museveni, and has been also a beacon that's promoting Uganda's rich cultural heritage. However, also the center, along with two other properties owned by Rwanjezi, has been also listed in public auction. That's also where we did see a notice also being given them by Quickway auctioneers, and court bail slowly reaching them. Now the Dairy Culture Center, spanning that's also over 3.645 hectares on Chadono Block 216, plot 2872. Chigowa also is said to be taken for auction next month if at all the man does not pay the debts. And now the debt also, the notice does not also disclose the amount owed by the creditor's identity, but we are saying we are going for. But how do we make sure this facility goes? That means it is really, really not right, because the facility has actually been promoting our culture and preserving it also for different generations. Because if at all we allow the facility to go right now, what about the future generation who may not also be in position to also find it? Are we not going to be also risking to lose our culture entirely? That means also the relevant stakeholders need to come out and also make sure this matter is addressed. If it means paying this debt, then the debt also should be fulfilled and also paid. At the end of the day, we are saying that money should be cleared, because I believe as a nation, we are not ready to lose the cultural troop. And that means if at all we lose it right now because of death, then that would be quite unfair to also lose that facility, because it has actually been promoting our cultural heritage. And now the auction will begin, that's at 10 a.m. That's at the auctioneer's office, with the potential buyers required to pay also via cash or via the RTGS, and viewing also of the properties available by prior arrangements. And the auctioneer Festus Katerega reserves the right also to accept or reject any offers. And now in addition to Nderi Cultural Center, Rwanjezi also the properties in Bira, which is Mango, also that's Mango and Chisoro district, are also said to be auctioned, and that means the facility are all to be taken if at all he does not clear the debts. Now this includes Lani Busiro, that's plot block 306, and Kisoro, which is already all block 1 to 2, and that's where we're saying all this measure up to 1.214 hectares and 2.202 hectares respectively, and that means if at all he does not clear the debt, and then the facility will cease to be his property. Now Rwanda is also founded in 1984 to revive and sustain Uganda's traditional arts, and I believe that has actually achieved its dream. And now the troop symbolized also the Ndere flute, embodies the harmony and beauty of Ugandan music, dance and storytelling, and that's where we've been seeing a lot of the facility actually playing a great role. And many of the musicians today have actually had the chance of working with the Ndere culture troupe, and that means if at all we are not ready to lose that, then that means we must also really come out and find out alternatives. But we are saying also this issue needs government intervention, and that's something which is happening in there. And now his contributions earned him recognition as a cultural ambassador both within Uganda and globally. And that's where we did see also the facility now risk also now being auctioned. And as the auction approaches, the future of Ndere Cultural Center, a cornerstone of Uganda's cultural identity, remains unclear. But how ready are we to lose this facility? Because you look at also really this facility, it has actually been promoting our culture and preserving the Baganda culture mainly through the dress code, where we have had also it being a tourism center, where we did see also the whites coming to also visit and see what is happening in there. Secondly, music. We have had also our musicians working with also the Kindere cultural group, and notable among this is actually many of our musicians, our top musicians. I wouldn't want to go names by names, but I would say we have had also a lot of musicians working with also the facility in terms of having this traditional aspect of the songs. But how do we make sure this does not go? That's where we're going to be leaving that discussion aside with as we get moving in the show. Remember, it being a Monday, we still have lots more to also bring your way, but we are going to take a short commercial break that will be ushering us into our final half of today's discussions. But I really want to say we still have lots more, and I will be informing you of what's happening, where we shall be seeing the national schools, also the ball games commencing. And we did see that happening yesterday, and we shall be seeing this going up to the 6th of this month. And we hope all this will be moving on well, and we hope also that our schools, which also within Western Subdivision really must also make us proud. And that would also at the end of the day raise our flags high. And that brings us also where we are going to be taking a short commercial break with. And that will also answer us into our final half. And thereafter, we shall be having other programs following. For now, we take a short commercial break. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Kylian Mbappe! Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to Star Times.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, a team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium Channel 259 and Channel 246 starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break at the 4 minutes after 8 o'clock. That means we are just left to about 26 minutes to wind up with this discussion. But we are saying, all in all, within these remaining hours of the show, I will be in position to sort of let you know what continues to make rounds in the country and internationally. And now talking about also some of the stories that continue to make rounds in this country. Allow me to inform you that also in teachers in Sembwe district now are calling upon government to actually revise the plan of having all teachers obtain degree to retain their positions. And that's where we are saying under the new policy that also is being developed, teachers right from nursery section up to university will be required to be degree holders, unlike certificates and diplomas where also we had many of our teachers also fall under. Today we are saying under the new policy they will be required also to be at least degree holders, and that's something we did happening. Now the issue was also brought to light during also really a farewell ceremony. That's for Mr. Kenneth Tumwesje, the retiring head teacher that's of Lwemiyaga Primary School at Nsembwe district, and that's something where we did see that happening. But remember, this is actually a new policy that is being developed, and we hope at the end of the day teachers actually hit to this dream of government, because really you realize that also if at all our teachers are remaining certificate, what will that mean? That means upgrading is actually key. And everyone say, I want to implore all these teachers to actually go for upgrading. Now reflecting on 39-year-old with the decade also spent at Lwemiyaga Primary School, to message also express gratitude for the support from the community members, but also took the opportunity to criticize the proposed policy after being also in service there for 39 years at the school. Really look at the 39 years, really is not an easy year for those to be in that facility, and he urged that requiring all teachers degree places an unfair financial burden that is on the educators who are already struggling with modest salaries. But how do you make sure, because many of the teachers have actually been complaining about their salaries, because government has come out to ask them to also go for upgrading, but now their salaries remain the same. How do you make sure that people do not also have the tendency of also criticizing the policy just because of the money that they are earning? Because if you look at the money that teachers are earning today, you will be able to realize that many of teachers are actually not earning a lot of monies, and that's why they are criticizing the new policy that also calls upon them now to be degree holders. That's why we did that. Now, former Sembwe District Education Officer Isaac Serwada praised Mr. Tumwesje also for his leadership and contributions, which significantly also improved the school's performance. Now it's about the calls for review of the proposed policy, emphasizing the importance of considering the practical challenges faced by the teachers. Now the teachers also plea to the government was also clear, where they called for reconsidered also to degree policy and addressed also the more immediate solutions to that. And that's something where we are now saying our teachers are also saying government needs to revise that policy, and that policy also that calls for them to also at least be degree holders, because they talk about their monies, where teachers also earn 700,000 plus children may not also be at this stage to also go back able to go to school. That means if at all government revises and also revises the plan, first of all by enhancing the salaries, then you never know, many teachers would actually enroll for studies. And that's why we're saying this policy indeed, yes, deserves to be also reassessed. That's according to teachers, but we are following up on that. The entire dream also remains in the hands of the government officials to also make sure that policy is actually well, that will be favoring teachers in that. Now leaving that aside, corruption scandal MP, that's Mudumi received as a hero. That's also after bail release. That's something also where with these celebrations erupting, that's in Soronko, Bulambuli district. As Ignatius Mudumi, the member of parliament that's for Elgon County, was greeted also by a jubilant crowd of supporters, friends and family members after his release from Luzira prison on bail, where Mudumi also spent 2 months in prison facing corruption charges, and was welcomed back to his home, that is in Lukonje village, with traditional dance, music and cheers after the days in prison. And now also the crowd, also undeterred by rain, also celebrated Mudumi, also the Karodi music regional symbol of joy and festivity, where we did see them also according that warm welcome to their legislator in there. Now supporters expressed their happiness that is upon Mudumi's return, describing him as a generous leader and a key figure that's also in the development of Bulambuli district, as he also represented also since 2006 in there. And that means the people are still happy with him, and that's where we are saying what exactly happened, because this legislator has been identified as a generous person, because maybe the money he has been getting, he has been eating it with the people. Is it right? Because we did see that also happening at one time, where we did see our leaders also say that really it is not bad. Another supporter also added that we had missed a lot with also our honorable member, and he was also has been helping us with condolence funds, bursaries for our children, and much more for the community. That means he has been doing a great job when it comes to supporting the poor that side. Now local leaders also joined the acknowledgement of Mudumi's contributions, where Wataka Milton, a district councillor, also praised him as a father figure. That's the people of Bulambuli known for his kindness and dedication also in there, but that's something we did see where Anne Nandundu, the Bulambuli district also chairperson, echoed these sentiments, describing Mudumi as a resourceful leader who had impacted and solely not only his constituents but the district at large in there. Now she noted also the impact of his absence from parliament, especially during the critical budget discussions. Solely, not also that means he has been missed out by the people. But how do you make sure that such people solely do not also maybe be misjudged by people? Now, as he awaits further legal proceedings, Mudumi's return has sparked debate about the ethical also implication of public celebrations for politicians solely facing serious charges, because he's not the only one who is being granted that warm welcome. But how do you make sure that such issues do not also really happen in our society, because somebody is being investigated for corruption, but we are giving this person a warm welcome? What does that say about the society we are in today? That means there's something that also really we must also really be able to judge our brains of, and we must also question the society of all these issues. And now his supporters also remain steadfast, viewing him as a pillar that's also with also the community, while his reception also underscores that's a complex relationship between the public perception and also the legal process in Uganda, because definitely that is something also where we shall be also making doubts. At the end of the day, that's where we're going to leave that discussion aside. Muntu criticizes doctor support for NRM government amidst healthcare crisis is another story that we are seeing right now in the past, where the leader of Alliance for National Transformation Party has highlighted also a significant irony with Uganda's medical community, where also despite the widespread concerns over the healthcare government also handling the NRM, also handling the medics, recently with also the first also clearly exhibited also with the entire doctors also concerns. Now these remarks also have been raised by Mugisha Muntu, also criticizing the support that's of the doctors also for NRM government, also amidst also the crisis in there. Now these remarks also came amidst also ongoing protests by medical interns over delayed deployment and widespread debates also about the state of Uganda's healthcare system, which has also faced that is criticism from chronic underfunding, poor infrastructure, and also really inadequate support for healthcare workers. And that's where we're saying now also the Muntu is actually coming out to criticize those medics also who support NRM. Now recently, President Museveni also stated that also his government does not also have money, also sufficient funds that's to pay the medical interns, where he proposed those who also had the mandate also of private sponsorship also should be able to also do that. And that means for those who have the money now should embark on also undertake also these private also studies in there and the internship in there. And now Mutu highlighted the irony, noting that also what is amazing though is that the significant number of doctors subscribed to the NRM, where about 50 also doctors vied for MP positions in the NRM primaries also, and that's also something which felt a bit ironic. But it is somebody's mandate to choose which political party they also need to support in that. But now, according to Muntu, that is actually quite ironic, because somebody is not supporting them enough. They also side with such a person, then I think Mugisha Muntu Soli is feeling very much bad about that. Now Muntu highlighted the irony, that's something where Muntu Soli expressed skepticism about also the NRM's commitment, that's improving healthcare sector, and that's something also where he did say, truth be told, no one can care for doctors and health workers solely unless they first care for the people's health. That's according to Muntu solely in there. Now, former presidential candidate Dr. Kizza Besigye also issued a sharp critique, that's of the Uganda government, on spending also priorities also in there, because looking at the priorities according to Kizza Besigye, also healthcare has not been also among those. Now Dr. Kizza Besigye declared that Museveni's official residence, a state house only consumes that a staggering 2 billion daily. A figure also he said urges exemplify the government's awkward priorities, and that means government is not putting priorities also when it comes to issues of health. And now he drew also a stark comparison between the amount allocated to state house and the funds needed by medical interns across the country, which state also would require at least 18 billion annually, in and also equivalent to just 9 days of state house expenditure in there. That's something also which he did also make comparison on. And we hope at the end of the day, these also people desire also get what exactly they need to also have in there. Now, former leader of opposition, Genga Kiza, says Mpuga's cash award lacks legal backing is another story that we are seeing right now, where also we feel we need to also talk about, where former leader of opposition in parliament, that is also Latigo going, also came out to also say the so-called service award granted to Matthias Mpuga and colleagues was also had merit but also lacked legal backing, and Winnie Keys also has defended the service award, as she says it also should be streamlined into institutions only opposition leader of office of the leader of opposition, as also not as an individual like it was the case with Mpuga. That means we need to make sure that when we are giving this money goes to each and every person out there, unlike it going just to an individual, just like also the Matthias Mpuga and the colleagues. Now, Professor Ogenga Latigo says the Parliamentary Commission decision was illegal, but also that was illegal given the fact that it had no legal backing for the also the rewards undertakings. But how do we make sure that now we criticize the money as illegal, but also without necessarily making sure that also we have a legal backing? Because if at all these people awarded themselves the 1.7 billion without also legal backing also in there, but how do you make sure that now that the court also came out to say that this money was legally granted? How do you make sure that such issues don't arise? These are questions that we need to now ask, and also make sure that we make informed decisions of as we get moving. And where we did see Matthias Mpuga receiving 500 million shillings, where we did also three other commissioners already awarding themselves 400 million each. And that means also the money was actually legally given, but it lacked legal backing. On Thursday, we did see Mpuga's also party, the National Unity Platform Party, at least a statement in which it said the former leader of opposition had admitted on the wrongdoings and apologized also during a Wednesday meeting convened by the leader, that's Robert Chagula in Sentamu. That means now the matter should be also put aside. Now the party also said that in the unsigned statement that Mpuga also had to step down from his new role as backbench commissioner. But how do we see that also happening? Because we had seen the man now being also declared innocent by courts of law, and that's something also which I feel at the end of the day we need to also make sure we talk about, because if we not talk about it, then definitely we are going to be seeing also it lacking. Now, according to Parliamentary Pensions Act, officers like the President, Vice President, Speaker, Prime Minister, and judges are also entitled to some retirement benefits, but for other members, where with these members awards gratuity also as our notorious service given without also the obligation, and this is also one of the clauses Mpuga had been also clashing on to defend his cash bonanza. But it still leaves many wondering why the leader of opposition parliament in office for only a year was being fed also by the Parliament Commission for the tenure also where it just also started, and that's something where we start also raising controversy on, because many people are feeling, why will the man be awarded the service commission just after 1 year of service? This is where the doubt is coming, where this is where the controversy is coming. But how do you make sure these issues do not arise? Professor Latigo Gango had also written, that's the leader of parliament, over the gratuity also of the office of the leader of opposition parliament at the beginning of 11 parliament, only for his request to fall on a deaf ear. That's something where we did start happening. But how do you make sure these issues do not raise controversy? Because many people out there may be also facing the challenges also and issues also related to this controversy, because this matter for long has been there in the limelight, but it not also being officially dissolved. What does that say about the opposition in Uganda, and what does that also say about the opposition in Uganda? Because recently I was able to inform you that now these people are actually coming out to ask government to make sure also that these laws are revised, where they now need to vote for their own leader of opposition in parliament. That unlike also it being imposed on them by the leading opposition group in parliament, because under the old law, it has to be the leading opposition group in Uganda that has to appoint the chief whip and also the leader of opposition in parliament. But now this are actually saying these positions must be voted. They must be voted by also the opposition members. If at all there's any development in relation to that, then it is the members also to also advocate for these issues. It is the members to make the decisions first of all. At the end of the day, then there's transparency, because recently I feel at the end of the day there's a point that also is in there, because if at all we not also have that issue discussed here, then that would also be quite unfair for us to solely lamenting on that. And that's something we did start happening, and I really want to say this will have a point. I really feel that would actually also make it a point, and that's where I will be anytime from now inviting guests, where we need to make sure that we analyze that, because if at all we don't also have the leader of opposition being voted, because he serves the interest of all the opposition groups in Uganda. but being appointed by one opposition group, because each and really, I believe at the end of the day, it calls for the law to be revised. Why? Because if I'm DP, I may not be able to work I may not be in position to work well with the person from NUP. And that means if at all we have one opposition group, we're not going to be relating well. But unlike if at all we vote for these people, then that would also make sure that also these issues also that affect the opposition groups, and then will be addressed in there. And that's where we're going to be leaving that discussion aside as we get moving on the show. And now to summarize the entire discussions with what is happening internationally. And remember, it being also really a Monday, definitely I wouldn't want to also leave stories that happen international out. But also we are seeing a lot of stories going to also come out from the international world. But we are saying, as West Nile TV, we remain committed to keep you informed in all aspects of life, and where we cannot also really be able to leave any story out. But now to begin off this hour, we now need to jet to Germany, where Germany's anti-immigration alternative for Germany also really is celebrating a historic success after also really being also really on course for big victory in the eastern state of Thuringia after securing a victory in there. Now the FD is set to win almost third of the vote, according to projections already for a public broadcaster, that's RD, where 9 points already ahead. For conservative also, CDU are front of Germany's three governing parties, and that's something also we are seeing happening in Germany. Because if you look at Germany today, we are also seeing them jetting into elections. That means the proposal already must be ahead of time also in there. That means we should be able to keep you informed of what's happening in there, where tens of thousands of people have also been happening in there. And that's something also where we are seeing tens of thousands rally in Israel calling for hostage release deal. Because if you look at Israel today, you got a lot of war is happening in there, where many people have been killed. And many people have also lost their lives as well in there. And that's where we're seeing now tens of thousands of people have rallied across Israel after bodies of 6 hostages are being held. That's in Hamas Gaza Strip, were recovered also already by soldiers, causing national outrage. But how do you see that happening? Where protesters mainly clad in Israel flags descended that's Tel Aviv, also Jerusalem and other cities, accusing the Prime Minister, that's Benjamin Netanyahu, and his government of not doing enough also to reach a deal that secure release of the remaining hostages taken by Hamas. That is also during the 7th October attacks. And Sunday auto protests already were largely peaceful, but crowds only broke through police lines, blocking the major also the highway that's Tel Aviv. And this comes also really as a major Israel labor union also really that's also really called for nationwide general strike on Monday, also pressing for a hostage deal. And that's something we decided happening in Israel, but we are still following up on that. We hope at the end of the day that brings also the matter also really that's to end. Because if you look at what's happening in Israel today, we realize also the attacks on Gaza have also claimed a lot of lives, and a lot of property also has been also destroyed in there, where many people are now today living in fear. But according to information we are seeing there, at least many people have been left homeless, children are vulnerable, and the attacks are still ongoing. But leaving that aside, let's now jet into Russia, where at least 41 people have been hurt in Russian airstrikes. That's on Kharkiv, which is also in Ukraine, where Russian airstrikes have injured at least 41 people in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv, as confirmed the officials. And that's where we're seeing regional also head Ole Sinoviev also said at least 5 children we are among those wounded and also accused of Moscow aiming exclusively that's at the civilian infrastructure. That is the city also in there. And that's something also we are seeing that now the Ukrainian war also continuing. But how do we see at one time this matter end? That's where we're saying also now the international world must come out and also fight this war that is happening in also the Ukraine. Now Mr. Zelensky repeated his calls for Western allies to give Ukraine everything. Also it needs to defend itself, but we are seeing now the war taking longer than also really expected in the now. But how do you make sure this war between Ukraine and Russia ends? And when do you think this war will actually end? Definitely that's something also where you should also be able to share. But do you think the war will end? Now that's also where we're seeing the war also ending. In Israel there was, elsewhere there was. And that means definitely something needs to be done in there. And that's why we're going to leave the discussion aside with and look at now some of the stories that also going to happen. And I really want to inform you, it being a weekend, so many things going to happen where we are now going to be seeing the institutional games slowly commencing in Arua City. By yesterday, we were able to see the schools also already overwhelming in Arua City. And for those who are within the city, you will be able to sort of realize that now the vans of these different schools are actually moving within the city center, where we have schools from across the entire country camping. That's at Arua School of Comprehensive Nursing, which is actually the host for this year's nursing schools ball games, where we shall be seeing the schools also of nursing schools competing. in football and netball, but we're now able to sort of see many schools coming from the different parts of this country, where I was able to see schools from Lira, schools from Fort Portal, schools from Masaka, schools from Bunibujo, all are in Arua City to actually be part of this year's National Nursing Schools Ball Games. And that's something where we shall be following up on, and the games will be officially commencing, and they already commenced yesterday, which was on 1st, and they will be going on until the 6th of this month, and we hope the trophy remains the Arua City. That means our schools must be able to solely organize themselves very well and also make sure they don't shame us, because if you look at the schools in Arua City, today we have a number of nursing and midwifery schools, like Arua School of Nursing, the HOS. We have schools like Kuluva School of Nursing. We have many, many others in Arua and in West Nile at large. We are saying all the schools must come out and make us proud, because to make us proud, then definitely you'll be able to realize that at the end of the day, we are going to be very well and also shine brighter in there, because if at all we do not shine brighter, then the embarrassment still will be able to come to us. We are saying the football trophy must remain here, the netball should remain here, because we are able to sort of see these schools now coming from the other parts of the country to all camp here. That means our schools must organize themselves very well. They must do something also to make us very, very much proud as a region and as a city at large in there. And that's something also where we are going to be also leaving that discussion aside with, and it being a Monday, remember also as we are getting back from the weekend, we are able to also see a number of games also taking place over the weekend. But more details that I will be coming through on the whistle time with Owen Ezaga together with Linda Suzy, and that will be from 2 to 3 p.m. where they will be giving that comprehensive and detailed analysis of what's happening in the world of sports, right from the region and internationally. And that means you need to also be part of that discussion for those who love sports, and they will be giving hints on where these games will be taking place and what exactly will be considered also when these games will be going on. And that's where we're going to be leaving the discussion in relation to local sports aside. And now looking at what's happening internationally, I want to inform you that also the games we also plenty over the weekend, before also the break of international, in the international games in there. But I want to inform you that also we are able to see Arsenal being held to a 1-1 draw after also getting a red card also in there, where we did see Declan Rice being granted a red card, which also could not allow Arsenal now contain the pressure, but also resort to a 1-1 draw. That is against Brighton in there. And also we are able to see Manchester United being thrashed also by Liverpool Football Club. I wouldn't want to mention the results, but I want to say it was quite embarrassing. And we were able to see Manchester City also continuing with a perfect start of the season solely by also putting also the Haaland in the lead now, where he is having about 7 goals in just 3 games in there. But all that detail will be coming through on the whistle time from 2 to 3 p.m. Owen Ezaga with Linda Susan. Remember, it being a weekend, we had a number of other games solely which I did leave out, but more details that will be coming through later on. And after here, we are going to be having the Air News Bulletin with Fete Manuel that will be coming shortly from now. That is also at 9 o'clock. And also, it being a Monday, we shall be having also the first edition of the Northern Request Hour for this week, also with DJ Jero and Olivia Yuji, who will also be here. And that is only for those who love music from Northern Uganda. Then this only happens here on West Nile TV, where they will be giving all those songs that you also want to hear from Northern Uganda, where you want to watch from also songs from Karamoja, songs from Lango, songs from Acholi, songs from West Nile. And when I talk about West Nile now, I want to say songs of the Madis, songs of the Lurus, songs of Kakua, all that will be played on the Northern Request Hour that will be coming through later on. And many, many other programs which are all interesting also still will be coming through later on. But for now, we are leaving the studios for the ALS News team with Fete Manuel. My name is Sarish Majid. Thank you so much for watching us. We shall be bouncing again tomorrow for the same time.